Good afternoon and welcome, everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Thanks for tuning to it, and a fine Lawn Maintenance Tuesday to you and yours. Get you an hour of me and Tom and the Jeff Cameron Show, and then 2 hours of Seminole headlines. We got all of that goodness, which I'm excited to bring you today. Thanks for tuning to it. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming free. Always. Don't miss anything, but hey, if you miss something, it happens. It's all right. All 3 hours going to be posted both on iTunes and in our own audio vault. Also, you can email the show if you like. It's jcs@979espnradio.com. You can find me on Twitter at @JCameronShow, the WTSM app, good for your mobile devices, and on YouTube, it's ESPN Tallahassee. So, Tom, I took your advice last night. I did a double whammy thing. I did the, we do What's on Tap every day, thanks to our friends from Proof. And I'll tell you this, I watched baseball, and then it got out of control. That was, all of a sudden, that game got away. But I was simultaneously watching. I was actually on the big screen watching the hockey, watching our Lightning, who right off the bat get the shorthanded goal. And I was really pleased with that because prior to that, wasn't looking like we came out with a lot of fire at all.
Zero fire.
Zero fire, and we were lucky to have that score be 0-0. And then you get the shorthanded goal, and you go, all right, let's ride that wave a little bit. Then we do. We get the second goal. It's 2-0, and then you hold on for dear life, and you get the third goal, and you win the game 3-2. The point is, it was a thoroughly enjoyable game. And I was able to do that and then kind of flip over on my iPad Pro. I was watching the baseball. And then at that point, when it got out of control, I just took it to the back and watched. I actually watched a little bit of the Monday Night Football game.
I did too. The second half where Mariota came to life
in
that fourth quarter.
Man, he looked like a different player, didn't he?
He did, yeah. I just saw the box score, really, and I thought maybe I was his good luck charm. So you're welcome, Tennessee fans. Yeah. But some of the throws he made from the pocket down the stretch
Well, that is the most encouraging sign in the world if you're a Titans fan, because he doesn't always do that. And the injury forced him to sit in the pocket and make those throws. As Gruden correctly pointed out last night, he's never done that. And he did it last night without question. Now, I'll grant you he did it against Indianapolis, who's as bad as they come.
Well, yeah, the deep ball touchdowns and coverage bust, but there were some underneath throws to Decker that he made. That
good throws. Yeah. I'm with you. I'm not trying to undermine his performance. It's just that he hadn't done that, and if he does do that and becomes that, well, they're going to be really good because they have a lot of weapons.
No, they do, and they have a really good offensive line. And this is why when I first turned it over, Indianapolis had turned the ball over, and Tennessee's in scoring range. And
were you watching? They were up 19-12. When were you watching?
Yeah, 19-12, and then there's the end around to Delaney Walker, and Taylor Lewan comes off the field, and I didn't realize how big of a red ass that offensive lineman is, but he's going crazy on the bench. I mean, he's just yelling. He's inconsolable.
He's a big dude.
F-bombs, and he's a huge dude. Kind of like incognito in a pool hall. You just don't want to mess with that guy.
I'm going to back up a little bit there. Back up a little bit.
He's so pissed because they're trying to trick their way into the end zone when they have two tailbacks that are maulers in DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry and a good offensive line in front of him. And he's saying, what the hell is wrong with it? You calling an end around to Delaney Walker?
He was livid, as that entire line was.
But that's the thing.
Reminded me of Warren Sapp's comments after we played Philadelphia. We were running reverses down on the goal line.
Right, we're trying to trick our way. That does not say it all.
Used a certain word, too. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. Well, to me, that's the curious thing about Tennessee and in that division that can really look good one week with Deshaun Watson leading the way as the face of the division this year, the hot rookie prospect, and Mariota, and then the Jacksonville defense. And then another week it can look like the worst division in football, which it has been for some time now. Tennessee's got a lot to work with. It's got a lot to work with, and Mariota's not the top of the list. They've got a good running game.
I said this a year ago. They're a good team.
Yeah. They've got a great scheme on defense.
No, it's aggravating. I have been envious as somebody who watches Jameis have to slowly build to where he has somebody he can throw to and has some weapons with him and has a relatively decent offensive line. Like, I was envious that Mariota kind of walked into a situation where you got weapons galore, a good offensive line, a good defensive coordinator. You got a lot of things going in your favor, which is why when we did the comparisons, I was kind of like, man, suspect, 2 fingers to my eyes, man. You got every reason in the world to be playing better than you are. If he does, they'll win. They're good. They got a good team.
Yeah, they do.
They do.
And that's a division that's still open for business because of the inconsistencies everywhere else.
Everybody else.
Yeah. Well, and that Houston has lost, J.J. Watt and Merciless on that defense. I know that Watt hadn't had a sack yet, but you scheme for him, you double team him.
Oh, he's still a good player.
So it still impacts the game big time. I wouldn't look at that Houston performance against Cleveland and declare Deshaun Watson and the Texans the class of that division. I think Tennessee still is if Tennessee just gets out of its own way at certain points.
I think they're all pretty wildly inconsistent. What you're going to see is performances like that, and then you're going to see a bad one where you go, what in the world was going on here?
But even watching that game, and I checked in on the baseball game now and then.
Well,
but
it was 8-0 before you knew it. Yeah.
Exactly. Aaron Judge took over.
By the way, the 3-run homer, yeah, it's about time. He had 19 strikeouts and 27 at-bats.
Sure, but I mean the catches, too. 2 catches, one breaking in on the ball, one breaking back to the wall.
That was a great catch. One thing I'll say is, and it would bother me as a Yankees fan, the first 3-run homer from Frazier, get the hell out of here with that. Now, that is unforgivable, that home run. That's not a home run in any park in baseball, not even like Little League parks anywhere you go around town. It's not. It's absurd. And John Smoltz said it. I was proud of him. He goes, well, that's the thing about this ballpark. You got to keep pitching because that can happen. Like, you could tell as a pitcher, he was like, oh, really?
Yeah.
So this guy's late on a ball, completely fooled, and that.
Well, that's a Jeter special, in those years, the formative years. He had a couple off the handle out to right field, right center.
Man, get the hell out of here with that. I mean, and when it's a 3-run ball, okay, well, whatever. They won the game dominantly. That's fine, but it's just sort of your.
Well, I'm not a big Houston fan either. I'm just looking for good baseball, but I totally agree with that park. Every time the ball leaves the bat and your eye tells you it's going to be down the lines, you go,
that could be
what
gone.
do we got here?
Yeah, it's crazy. I just think it would be very difficult because, listen, it'll benefit you, but there are times where you're going to lose a game that you don't deserve to lose because somebody happens to get enough underneath it in that one area where the wind blows out on the right center where you cost you a game. It's nuts.
One thing, as I turned off the television last night after they'd gotten the first down inside the 2-minute warning, Tennessee did. I just go to bed thinking, man, college football, I can agree if it's on the same level, but the college football and the NHL, those are the 2 best products going on television right now. And it's not just because I'm a hockey homer. If you're looking for action,
just being entertained,
not replay reviews and injury timeouts and TV time. If you're looking for action, it's hockey, man.
Well, let's get to this then. It's the start of college basketball, basically, and it's the start of the NBA tonight. You get Celtics, Cavaliers, and Rockets, Warriors, and I'm actually, a little bit moved, not crazy needle pushing up against the red line.
You want to watch that Philly team. You do.
Oh, I do. I've mentioned it. I do want to watch that Philadelphia team. I find it intriguing.
SportsCenter did a little thing for them today where they're talking about all those players putting something together.
A lot of players.
Yeah.
They do have some players, and you recognize them all because they all played for Kentucky.
Right.
But anyhow, the thing of it is, though, I honestly... I think the Celtics could knock off the Cavaliers, and I'm interested in that because we've not seen any team that, any non-LeBron James team win that division, win the East, and I think it's possible this year. I'm not going out on a limb, but maybe. I mean, it's very easy to say the Atlantic's going to be won by Boston, and the Central will be won by Cleveland. And then what do they call it now? The Southeast division, which is so different from when I was a kid. I didn't
even know they had 3 in basketball. I thought they only had 2.
Doesn't really.
There it is.
I mean, and they have the Northwest and the South. They have all these things now. The Pacific Division, of course, is Golden State. Everybody will pick Golden State to win that without any question. Then you get into a level of intrigue in the Southwest Division because of San Antonio and Houston and with what they've done.
Interesting. I don't check in on the dynamics. Obviously, Popovich makes headlines every once in a while, but
he's great.
I don't check in on the dynamics of the LaMarcus Aldridge relationship. I thought that was all going to hell in a handbasket.
No, apparently it's been
and
salvaged.
They just extended him?
Oh, you didn't read the big article? There's
No.
a good article. I think it was in the Ringer. There's a good article on the Come to Jesus meeting that they had to have where he had to say, listen, here's the deal. That's what I need out of you. There's some confusion about what was being asked. So, listen, if anybody's going to tell it to you straight, it's going to be that guy.
Oh, well, there's no doubt about that.
But which is awesome, though, because that's all anybody ever wants.
They just want to know where they stand,
yeah,
right?
You want to be treated like a man. You want to be brought in and told, this is what you are to me. This is what you are and what we do. This is what I need out of you, and either you can do that or you can't. If you can't, have a good day. No hard feelings. If you can, good, great, let's do it.
Well, one of Pop's big things is he says you have to realize you're not that big of a deal. It's something akin to that. It's like you need to realize that you're not.
I think that's across the board for every human being.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, we all get in our own way with that
Well,
stuff.
that's like the famous business saying, nothing's personal.
Right.
If you can operate truly believing that nothing is personal.
And it's very difficult because we are subject to the whims of emotion, no matter who you are, and ego and all of that.
Right.
It's very difficult.
You'll be empowered to make better decisions and be more productive. Yeah.
Well, and the people who pursue it to that end, I mean, this is part of a larger conversation we can have with Jimbo Fisher in Florida State's locker room and what's going on that potentially at the end of this season. It'll be very interesting to see how all of that plays out and how he holds up a mirror. I think your great CEOs, your great coaches, and your great player personnel guys, all of them, your great bosses of any kind, have to be able to do that. It's just a lot easier said than done. And I think it's funny, too, because I think we're better equipped to do that at various points in our life. It's not always when you're not young. It's not always when you're in middle age. It's not always when you're old. I think you have those pockets of time where you're able to strip it all away for a little while and see things for what they are at all of your various stages in life. And there are other times when you're just lying to yourself, where you can't look in the mirror and tell the truth. That's very difficult.
It is. It was difficult, too. And I saw this yesterday, and it's just hilarious. Very quickly, I have to share it.
It struck you, I could tell.
Because you'll love it. Because I read it the same way, and this guy was doing it on purpose. It's a reporter on Twitter putting out a release from the Chicago Bears, and he says the Chicago Bears and Fox have agreed to an extension. And everybody went, "Oh my God, John Fox has been extended."
Extended? Why?
No, it was with Fox 32, their affiliate, for pre-games, for preseason games.
Well done, sir.
But people were reacting, "What?" Not reading the actual, the release. So that would be pretty difficult if we heard in this town, segueing back awkwardly, that some certain coaches were extended, but we don't think that that's going to be the case. We think that the head coach is right here where he's always going to be. A couple of the pieces, a few of the pieces at minimum are going to be here, but we'll be working under a different impression come even December and January when we need to learn what these guys are capable of doing in the recruiting world. There's a lot to be done in the next 2 to 3 months.
Yeah, salvaging a class, putting together a top 10 class. He has one currently. If that stays as is, Florida State will once again have another great class, and that's always good because first and foremost, above all things that we talk about here, whether it's coaches or a singular segment or a particular rash of injuries or any number of other things, I think the root of all of this is you have to have good players. You can be the best coach in the world. If you don't have good players, you lose a lot of games to teams that have average coaches and real good players. So we got that. And so far, that hasn't dropped off. That's why you have that hope that you do. That, okay, look, still a lot of guys coming to this school still believe in what's going on despite the struggles. But we also know that's subject to change, too. And it can happen very quickly. As other teams rise and begin to have more success that weren't a factor in your recruiting battles before, they become factors in your recruiting battle. And we also know that if you lose enough games in a given season, that faith that somebody might be showing in a staff begins to wane, and then they begin to question their decisions. So there is still a lot on the line as we go through, and it starts this Saturday against Louisville.
Well, what I find interesting, too, is if you look at the recruiting services, Rivals in 247, what War Chant does, and they talk about the kids that are perhaps on a flip watch, like because of the results, who would actually be swayed to go to a different university.
People who are 50-50 on Miami FSU, for example.
Right, exactly. And there's another kid or two that might be interested in either LSU or Alabama, and that'll ebb and flow, except for Alabama won't flow. It'll just ebb.
Yeah, they're always going to go to Alabama if they're smart.
Well, I mean, just if the results matter, they're going to go to Alabama after this season, right?
Every year, yes.
But the one thing I'd say is that, I don't think from a negative standpoint, I think there's a floor for this recruiting class. But I don't think we know the ceiling yet because depending upon whoever the new hires, plural, are going to be.
Oh, that changes everything.
You can make hay in a month to 2 months of time.
All you got to do is go back to Pruitt, getting us to Marcus Walker, whom, by the way, we really, really miss, or Jalen Ramsey, who he also got. I mean, those two individuals, for example, basically came here because of Jeremy Pruitt.
Yeah, the night they won the national title, he starts the next day in Tallahassee, and it's an early enrollee, and bam, there you go. Yeah, it's a commitment from DeMarcus Walker. And that's a kid I'd love if he had another year of eligibility.
Well, since we don't sack the quarterback, sure. Yeah. That would be really nice. We miss him.
What would our record be if we had DeMarcus Walker?
3-2.
Well, that's better than 2-3. We would have beaten Miami, right?
Yeah.
We might have beaten NC State.
Maybe. Okay, yeah. Well, that happens. People move on. You got to find a way.
Well, we always talk about Dalvin, but what about 44? 44 is a big damn deal.
Give love to both. Yeah, absolutely. And the way things are emerging now, we have an answer for Dalvin's departure. It may not be at the level, but it's pretty close. And Cam Akers, and really got a three-headed monster back there right now that I feel pretty good about. On the other side, however,
I think 44 might have been more important of a departure.
I don't see anybody else emerging right now. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
Landowners, Mahindra's inventory clearance sale is going on now. We're reducing prices like never before on the toughest tractors on earth. Like a Mahindra E-Max 22 as low as $99 a month. Or get up to $8,100 in cash back and savings. Plus, Mahindra's 7-year limited powertrain warranty comes standard.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my poor truck. Always enough, I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
Don't put off your auto repairs. Stop it at 1023 North Monroe Street or call them at 222-2532.
Look at that mouth. That poor, parched mouth. So dry. What'd you eat for lunch? Chalk dust? Did your mouth cannonball into a barrel of mothballs? You're being awfully quiet. Is that because your mouth feels like the business end of a Dremel saw? Is it because your mouth just wrote a haiku and all 17 syllables were dry heaves? You're so parched. You know it. I know it. The entire radio knows it. Just admit it. You want a Mountain Dew. Your mouth feels like it just inhaled the insides of a punching bag, and the only remedy is that neon green potion. Right now, your mouth could be tongue bathing in the refreshing citrus kick of Mountain Dew. Instead, it feels like you've been motorboating King Tut's sarcophagus. Show some mercy. Crack open an ice-cold Mountain Dew. You know your mouth wants you to. Do the Dew.
Don't miss Dew Days Thursday at Commonwealth Shell on Capitol Circle Northwest at Commonwealth Boulevard. They'll have great prices on Dew products from noon to 6 only. Kickstart singles for only 59 cents and Dew 12-pack cans are only $1.99. This Thursday, only from noon to 6 at Commonwealth Shell.
I have known for some time now that some insurance companies are not exactly being truthful with their customers, stating such things as if you do not use one of their approved body shops, they will not guarantee the repairs, or it may cost you more out of pocket. Here at Lisa's Paint and Body Shop, the work we do is guaranteed for as long as you own your vehicle. Lisa's Paint and Body Shop, 385-2665.
License number MP46050.
You can always count on the crisp, refreshing taste of Bud Light, just like you can always count on Tailgate Terry. Without Tailgate Terry, you wouldn't have cold Bud Lights and 7-layer dip at every pregame. That's 56 layers per season. Just the right amount if you ask Terry. Just don't ask him while he's inflating the 8-foot mascot he blows up for tailgating. Tailgate Terry is famous among friends. He deserves a Bud Light. Enjoy responsibly. Bud Light Beer, AB St. Louis, Missouri.
Sports are defined by stats and performance, but here's a performance stat that no one wants to talk about. Erectile dysfunction affects half of all men over 40. That's 50%. If you're struggling with ED and other therapies haven't worked, isn't it time to feel like yourself again? Learn about a long-lasting ED solution from Coloplast to get you back in the game. Visit Dr. DeLay at Advanced Urology Institute, located at 2000 Centerpoint Boulevard, or call their office and set up an appointment today. 833-4DRDELAY. That's 833-4, Dr. DeLay. The sooner you seek treatment, the sooner you can get back to feeling like your normal self. That's 833-4, Dr. DeLay.
You're locked in with the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Heads up, it's time for the 11th annual Brewfest. Over 200 beer varieties with unlimited sampling presented by the Tallahassee Sunrise Rotary Club. Come sample varieties of craft beer and learn what you like. The event's coming up, man, soon, 11 days from right now, October the 28th. Yay. Goes on from 5 to 8 p.m. at the Antique Car Museum. And general admission is only $39 with food available for purchase while you're there. If you get the VIP package, then you get exclusive access.
VIP pass.
Nicely done. From 4 to 5 p.m. So really then it's a big to-do from 4 to 8. Nicely done. All net proceeds go to charity. That's another great thing. Brewfest sells out very quickly, so get your tickets now. Visit the Facebook page or brewfesttallahassee.com for event details and ticketing information. Love Brewfest. I let the people at Sunrise Rotary that put this on every year that I've gotten to know, I speak to them at the beginning of every season, or they come ask me to speak, which is always a pleasant part of the process.
So there were Florida State ties to the wedding that I was at last week down in Miami Beach.
That's always a good thing.
And one of the other bridesmaids works up here in Tallahassee and also is a home brewer and is going to be on the VIP stage.
Oh,
doing,
well,
when they do the homebrew trials. Remember,
nicely done.
Once upon a time, Grasslands was a part of that VIP small stage.
Yes, they were.
And now there they are.
I remember we partook in the goodness.
We
right?
did.
Yeah.
They were good. They were already really, you knew it, that they had a little something to them, but eventually, boom, there they are now.
You know, this has nothing to do with nothing, but I always think about this as a sign that somebody is a good coach and not the opposite. But did you know, we didn't talk about this yesterday because we didn't get into a lot of NFL yesterday, but most of the rest from 4 to 6 with headlines is all FSU. So I'm going to deviate from what we normally do and talk a little NFL for a second. A couple of things stand out to me. And first of all, I thought about this. I thought, you know, it's kind of interesting that a head coach who calls plays decides to take himself off of play calling duty and hand over those duties. Ben McAdoo did that with the Giants, and they looked like a different team. They looked like, and it could have just been a weird set of circumstances. So my man decides, I'm not connecting, I'm not in a rhythm, something's not right. But he removes his ego to the point where he says, I'm handing all that over, that's fine. Well, why do I bring that up? Well, if you're a Giants fan, you're like, yeah, Ben, damn it, man. Why do we have to be 0-5 before you decide to wake up? Well, okay, that's fine. I got that part of it. You know how much it takes for a man after to do that, to say that I'm going to remove my ego from the equation here, I'm going to hand over these duties, and to be legitimately pleased with what occurred and note that the guy you handed the duties to did a fantastic job and you couldn't be happier, and to mean it? Because if you watch his press conference, he did. You know what that is? That's being a head coach. That's being a guy that gets the big picture, that says, you know, I have no doubt about what I know. And I have no doubt that in my past, I've been very good at this. But for whatever reason, it's not happening right now for me this year. And something's got to change. We're losing football games. It's just not working. And so my pride be damned, because if I don't do something, I'm going to be without a job. I'm going to lose my job. I never got this when I was a young talk show host who criticized coaches who just were not as involved in the X's and O's and calling of the game. But later on, I got it when Les Miles did so well as a head coach, and I didn't think much of him as a play caller. And then later on, I got it even more when I watched Dabo Swinney, who I consider to be a buffoon, pay an assistant coach over $1 million and take less money in the process so that his team could win, and didn't worry about his ego and didn't worry that he was just seen as a glorified recruiter. Because guess what? When you're in charge of the whole thing, it doesn't matter how you win, only that you do. And you can be a CEO in that way. And then we watch Ben McAdoo do it for the Giants, and I think, man, that's an NFL coach who decides, here's the playbook, man. This is not working out. I'm a mess. We're a mess. The organization is falling into hell and high water. I got to get this done. You got it. And then get it done and say, all right, we found something. I feel good about this. We're going to continue this and move forward from here. Now, you might be listening to this saying, what are you trying to say, Jeff? No, I don't have a problem with Jimbo the play caller. There are some other attributes of what Jimbo does or aspects of what Jimbo does that I think he'll have to reassess. Maybe not necessarily change. I don't know. Maybe just a change with some of his coaching staff will make all the difference in the world. But I think that's hard for people and coaches to do in general. This is not a shot at FSU. It's not a shot at Jimbo. Because I really do think Jimbo's a good play caller. I do. I think that sometimes he doesn't always have the personnel to execute the plays that he wants to execute, but the plays themselves and his knowledge of the game is never in question. So the act of, in this case, it happened to be play calling. What I think Jimbo has to do is maybe not remove himself from calling plays, but reassess where the program's at, the process is going, what's working, what's not working with the players, etc. What's happened along the way that has led us to this. And that's hard to do, man. It's really hard to do. And none of us want to do it in any walk of life. And none of us are really all that good at it. It's very difficult to say to yourself or to the people around you or to your coworkers, I'm not doing a good enough job at this. I just have to be better, and here's what I'm going to do about that. That's damn hard to do for anybody. I failed at it millions of times. So I don't know. I wonder, if this season plays out the way that we think it's going to, and we all think it's going to be that there's changes made within the staff, would that be the only thing that needed to be done? Or would there have to be a fresh look from the head man himself at the process? I think that's certainly true.
Well, I think you can do both without admitting you did both. Because when the new coaches come in, if you set a new standard or, there's a new protocol for the coaches that come in that's different from the ones that are walking out the door.
Then you've made a change in the way you do things.
Correct.
Without,
Correct. But I also think, Jimbo has proven this beyond a doubt. You had a different coaching staff, a different type of coaching staff from 2010 through the end of the 2012 season versus what you had when we had the dream season and then 29 in a row, 13 and 14. And you can argue about motivation in that 14 season. That's a story unto itself about leadership, commitment.
By the way, every year removed from 2014, the way we view 2014 changes.
Yeah.
Its impact on where we are currently, what was really going on that year. I mean, we've done a 180. Those of us that cover this team and get paid to talk about this team and give an opinion about this team, we've done a 180 on what we think 14 was now. At the time, we thought entitled, spoiled, already won a championship, worried about the NFL future, tuning people out. They're all individuals. Nobody's playing collectively as a team, etc. Now we go, or maybe the defensive coordinator wasn't real good.
That could be part of it, too. I think the answer might be all of the above.
Sure.
I don't think that there's any secret about that, especially with some of the comments that Jalen Ramsey made in September of that season. I mean, just think about all the one-liners you got throughout the year. It began with attitude of domination. And Jimbo at his press
Appreciate
conference
what you got.
Talking about, reading Phil Jackson's books and other coaches who have been able to sustain.
I appreciate that he did that. And by the way, good of you to point that out because I think it speaks to this larger point. This idea of swallowing pride and saying big picture stuff, some things got to change, and maybe that includes with me. He's shown that he can do that. That's why a lot of people, and I'm included in that list of people, believe that he's still the right guy. If I didn't think he would do that, then we'd have real problems with that.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at him, the play caller, and I think this also speaks to the larger point, there's some basic things that we do that I don't know that we always have the personnel. In fact, we hardly ever have the personnel asking the offensive line to do certain things in our base runs, that we outside zone, those types of things. Just trying to get to a place and flank them. I don't.
Well, by the way, hold on. Yes, I got it. But won't some of that be resolved when a change is made there, too?
Well, yes, and that's what we'll find out, right? I think
there's a lot of unanswered questions.
That's the larger question. But if you look at the general way the offense has appeared from 2007 through this season, I mean, it's done all kinds of transformations with different quarterbacks and different skill sets and different personnels. I mean, we've been a pistol offense, a shotgun offense, an under center offense, and we're multiple at all times, but you know what I mean, the base set of plays. When Christian Ponder was here, it looked like one thing. When E.J. Manuel came in, when Ponder was hurt, it looked like quite another. When E.J. was the starter, it looked different. When Everett was here, Sean McGuire was here, Jameis, of course, it looked a certain way. And with DeAndre and now with James Blackman. There are things that he calls upon from the past, but the offense looks different fundamentally in a lot of ways, depending upon the quarterback. And that tells me a coach is more than fine with saying we need to focus on chapter 2 in the playbook for this quarterback. We need to focus on chapter 7 in the playbook for this quarterback. That to me is a coach who's willing to revise on the fly. That's a coach to me. Like, look at the RPOs this year. I know they're not always successful, but we're running RPOs a little bit more this year. The ones that, the other teams run, the other teams are taking advantage of. Jimbo is showing and has shown consistently signs that he's willing to revise if he has to revise.
To the extent that we want him to, and the fact that his mentor largely radically altered how he runs his offense with a quarterback that can't make consistent throws from the pocket should be, once again, a tool utilized by Coach Fisher to say, okay, it's all right. I mean, good tweet this morning. Cole Kubik tweeted out, I give him credit where credit's due. He was showing an inverted quarterback counter read and how Bama uses it to change up things in the run game, and they show the left guard and the left tackle pulling like it's a counter, and it forces teams to play them honest. Well, the only thing I could think of when I watched the video was a cool video, and it's a lot of fun to learn from things like that and to hear a former offensive lineman like he was talk about that. But then also looking and thinking to myself, Saban's not running that play 3 years ago. He's not doing what this is designed to do for the reasons that it's designed to do 3 years ago because he didn't believe in it. But he has now.
But again, also what I'd say is in the last, whatever it is, 15, 16 games last year and this year combined, I mean, Jimbo ran his quarterback more in key moments than we gave him credit for last season. And this year, in the last 2 weeks, buddy, we've run zone reads where the quarterback keeps it and gets chunks of yards. First drive of the game last week, and then obviously against Miami.
He ran it twice against Duke, by the way, and I will tell you that play has worked every time because people are probably stunned when the quarterback keeps the ball.
Correct.
And actually,
But when we're looking for morsels of progress and morsels of anything that lend themselves to a larger talking point, there they are. I mean, they're happening.
Oh, no, they're happening. Yeah, he's got to make some changes. They got to get some life in here, some new eyes, some new blood. That's good for anybody. Even sometimes it's good to do that when things are successful. I talk about the model in Europe all the time. When you look at professional soccer, football over there, it's interesting. You'll see many franchises have a lot of success and have a bona fide coach that has won, and they decide things have gotten stale, a little stale. They'll have maybe a middling campaign. And even though the guy's been arguably one of their most successful coaches, they'll go, switch it up. Switch it up. And it's not seen as this
unless you're Arsenal. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not seen as this crazy bugaboo. It's just part of, hey, this is what sometimes you got to do. They don't see it as a shame to the guy that they're letting go because he usually goes on and finds another job where his message is new and different for that organization. And they bring in somebody else who's almost the polar opposite of the guy they just had. I mean, this goes on a little bit more frequently. Now, don't misconstrue this. I'm not saying that we ought to do that here. I'm not saying Jimbo should go anywhere. What I'm saying is it'll be good when we get new blood in here. It'll be good to have a new set of eyes. And it'll be interesting to see what Jimbo does embrace at the end of this season, which is admittedly trying.
I think it's fair to say, too, that, this will be a different tenor if there aren't changes, but we're just going on the assumption that there are going to be changes.
Yeah, we are making assumptions based on the fact that Jimbo's not blind. I mean, he's not blind. He knows. A point I make in Seminole Headlines is that one of the things I commend him on is that he's not brittle, man. He gets why there's criticism. He understands why at 2-3 people might say, well, you lost 3 games last year and the year before, and we've already lost 3 this year, and surely there's at least another loss coming. That at a place like Florida State, if you lose 3 and you lose 3 and you lose 4 or more, people begin to say, whatever it is, I don't need to name it specifically, whatever it is, it's not working. Got to do better. Got to do better. He gets that. I think big picture-wise, he gets that because, listen, he demands excellence of himself, of his staff, of his program, of the school, of his kids, all of that. He's got to know. I mean, it really wouldn't matter. I mean, if suddenly, to try to equate it to radio, I suddenly went from having really good ratings to terrible ratings for sustained amount of ratings books over a period of a year or 2 years or 3 years, I would be forced to say, well, what am I doing differently? What am I doing wrong? What am I doing that's not connecting? What am I doing as a whole? You and I would be having damn meetings on a daily basis.
Well, yeah, if the show still existed after 3 years of bad ratings, yes, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
but the show might not exist.
But that's in any walk of life.
That's the nature of the beast.
Right. That's the way it works. And you would know why if your boss has called you and said, hey, listen, I've noticed over the last 5 ratings books, we're having some issues here, whereas before in the previous 10 years, we were not. What's going on with you guys? Well, could I be mad about that? No, I could be confounded and frustrated and nervous, but it wouldn't mean that I'd have a right to be angry. I couldn't bristle at the criticism. I'd have to accept it and figure out a way to fix it. Period. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
Landowners, Mahindra's inventory clearance sale is going on now. We're reducing prices like never before on the toughest utility vehicles on earth. Like a Mahindra XTV 750S as low as $135 a month. Or get up to $3,450 in cash back and savings. Plus, Mahindra's 3-year limited powertrain warranty comes standard.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough, I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
GMC Cadillac is back at it, supporting the High School Scholar Athlete of the Month on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Listen every Wednesday to hear our monthly winners. Check them out at Dale Earnhardt Jr., Buick, GMCCadillac.com.
Mahindra's inventory clearance is going on now. We're reducing prices like never before on the toughest utility vehicles on earth. Like a Mahindra 750S Camo as low as $135 a month, or up to $3,450 in cash back and savings. Only from Mahindra.
North Florida and South Georgia's authorized Mahindra dealer is TNT Super Center, US 19 South in Thomasville, and at TNTSuperCenter.com.
Offer with approved credit. See dealer for details. Program restrictions may apply.
This Day in Sports, brought to you by Superlube, 19 Tallahassee area locations. Quick, convenient, no appointment necessary. Get your history lesson weekdays at 5:30 during the Jeff Cameron Show, right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Hey, Fido!
Yes, bud?
Hey, have you heard about that Hair of the Dog sports bar?
Yeah, it's all everyone's been barking about. It's Midtown's #1 sports bar with over 50 TVs, burgers, loaded nachos and wings, and a massive bar. Plus, Hair of the Dog is human-friendly, but you gotta keep them on a leash.
Sounds like a great place to watch those human teams play catch.
You mean football?
Hair of the Dog sports bar, Midtown, North Monroe behind Brugger's. Best drink prices and juiciest burgers in town.
Sexy French poodles, welcome.
Are you aware of the new OSHA silica dust regulations that went into effect September 23rd? Are you prepared with the correct solutions to make your employees and your company compliant? DeWalt and Cornerstone Tool & Fastener have a full line of OSHA-compliant solutions ranging from tools to accessories and shrouds and even dust extractors. OSHA rules intend to limit workers' exposure to breathable crystalline silica. DeWalt and Cornerstone are your first line of defense with the solutions you need. Cornerstone Tool & Fastener, 1110 Stuckey Ave and 3269 Crawfordville Highway.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi, an MLB postseason doubleheader and opening night in the NBA highlight this Tuesday on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Leads off with Yankees-Astros Game 4 ALCS, 4 Eastern. New York will start Austin Romine at catcher because he works better with today's starter, Sonny Gray. Gary Sanchez will DH. Yankees trail the series 2-1. Dodgers-Cubs, Game 3 NLCS, 8 Eastern. Yu Darvish, Kyle Hendricks. One of the reasons the Dodgers have a 2-0 series lead is their bullpen, according to ESPN's Aaron Boone.
Their bullpen is now championship caliber. Different than they've had in the past. Different than in their last 4 National League Western Division championship clubs. They now have a pen that can shut you down ahead of what's always been a great closer in Kenley Jansen.
Chicago's 0 for 24 versus LA's bullpen in the series. NBA, Chris Paul makes his debut for the Rockets in their opener against the Warriors. 10 Eastern, ESPN Radio. Cleveland's LeBron James, injured ankle, game time decision versus the Celtics tonight, reports our Dave McMenamin.
Time to upgrade your wardrobe with CT Shirts, the most exquisitely crafted British-styled crease-free shirts I've ever worn. One CT shirt normally costs $100. I got you 3 shirts for just $99. Go to ctshirts.com/ESPN. ctshirts.com/ESPN. Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Lawn Maintenance Tuesday, presented by Miller's Tree Service. Call Miller's today at 894-TREE. That's 894-8733.
Man, I think I'm trying to fast track this Louisville game. I turned the corner on it this morning early. Maybe it was the weather. But I began to get excited about it. And I know it's hard in a season in which the team is 2-3 to get excited about much, but I am kind of pumped up about it. I did some checking because we had to do the War Chant report today. And, man, you look at some of those defensive numbers, whether it's your standard downs, standard metrics, or advanced. And Louisville's defense, I mean, you think we're upset and frustrated as a fan base? As a fan base, if you're a Louisville fan, you're wasting the Lamar Jackson years because that defense is an embarrassment, and they do some things very poorly that have allowed them to lose a bunch of games. In their last 9, they're 3-6. They're 3-6 against Power 5 teams. They don't beat people.
Well, they had made a change at that position, coaching position, and it hasn't helped. You know, the development of late, based upon what I've seen out of Louisville in the beginning of the season, and then, frankly, looking mostly at box scores the last couple of weeks. I'll take a look at them tonight, tomorrow. But the running defense, the rush defense, has been worse and worse. It's been exposed as the season has gone along. That secondary is trash. I mean, look at what North Carolina has put up this year offensively.
And then look what they did against them.
And look what they did against Louisville, being able to march down the field. I get the yard disparity was there, but if you're looking in the key moments of that game when you need to stop, North Carolina was allowed to just go up and down the field unabated.
Listen to what you just said. You talked about the run defense has gotten worse and worse, and then your next sentence was, and their secondary is trash. What is it you say you do here, Louisville? I mean, I'm not telling you that we aren't, plagued with our own issues, and that this very well may be just a game between two very disappointed fan bases for the year. But where Louisville stats got kind of skewed defensively is the Kent State-Murray State games. And so if you remove the Kent State-Murray State games and you look at their numbers, any of the numbers on defense, against Purdue, North Carolina, Clemson, NC State, Boston College, every one of those teams moved the ball exceptionally well. Every one of them. Florida State, for all of its problems and inconsistencies on offense, ought to be able to put up a pretty big number this weekend. It may not be enough because I don't know if we stop Lamar, but you ought to be able to score this weekend.
Well, here's another scenario where if you look at the athletes on the field and you say who's the more talented team,
there's no question.
Well, it's the home team this weekend. To me, the one thing I would allow for, this isn't a rivalry game, but it's an odd game, a revenge game for us. And then for Louisville, it's a game where they come down to Tallahassee and they know, well, if they don't play well, they're going to get blown out. So I think you have a couple of things working, and in college this matters much more than the NFL. But you have a couple of things working towards perhaps a 60-minute box score that doesn't read the way you would fully expect it to read. So I'm not saying that it's going to be 17-13, but what I'm saying is, given how bad Louisville's defense has played and how consistent our defense has looked and how bad our offense has looked at times, is certainly not in scoring touchdowns, this thing could be a 31-27 type game. Still feature the bad parts to both teams, the warts on both teams.
I think I predicted 34-31 today.
But it's not the 45-42 type thing you got last week with Boston College, even though there are better athletes on the field for Florida State this weekend.
Yeah, you look at what I think this game projects as for Florida State. I think this is like a 31-28, a 34-31 type game, and hopefully we're on the winning side. I think it's a fun game, an exciting game. Listen, we're reduced to certain little minimal gains right now, but do you know how big it would be to win this football game? I know that the stated goals before the season are all off the table. I got you. But you got to win this game, because if you go to 2-4, And we now see what Syracuse is capable of, what Boston College just did. We see this now. There aren't these pencil-in automatic wins out there other than Delaware State. You go to 2-4, you begin to question whether or not the team can finish above 500 and make a bowl. You go to 3-3, you will have won back-to-back games, with your next being against Boston College, whom, let's face it, you ought to beat with a chance to get back over 500 and begin to have a little bit of positive momentum before you face Clemson. Now I'm not going to assume a win over Syracuse right now. I'm not going to assume anything. But there are games that are more winnable than others. And if you win this game, you start to shift mindsets to a place that says, all right, you may be able to salvage a little bit of what's left of this season.
I would say it matters greatly that the Syracuse game is being played here, but we're 0-2 here this season. So since
I
we
think
haven't
it does
won
matter,
here,
though, Tom. I do think it's good to get them off of AstroTurf and not at night in Syracuse. Like, those Friday night games are kind of death. It's funny that happened on Friday night. There was 2 upsets on Friday night. Those are tough games. The Friday night games have replaced these Thursday night games to some extent. Although us going to BC is far less intimidating than going to a Syracuse or a place that has a distinct home field advantage.
well, and I hear it while you're saying it too, and you prefaced, so it's not you. But the fact that we have to call into question a BC or a Syracuse at this point,
yeah. Well, I
is
think that
in
more,
and of itself, unbelievable.
Oh, listen, there's a lot of stuff that's happened this year that you get angry about, and that I get angry about. We all do. But, that was really more about what we just saw this week. And my calling into question those being non-automatic wins is the fact that BC just rose up and beat Louisville after being down by 3 scores. That Syracuse rose up and beat Clemson. And we know Clemson's good, period. They just are. Clemson probably wins out. And we know they're a real good football team. It's more about, actually, I sound like Jimbo here. It's more a little bit about the middle and lower ends of the spectrum of the ACC have improved so much to where if you don't play well, they can beat you.
Even still, that's embarrassing. But yes, yeah.
but it's true, though. I think it's true of the conference in general.
When you beat Wake and Duke by a touchdown apiece, sure.
Yeah, I think it all comes into play. And I think that in addition to the problems that exist at Florida State currently, the conference is at a place now where it wasn't 10 years ago. None of those teams back in the day could beat you. You could have your worst day, and there was no chance you were going to lose. That's not true now. You have a bad day like Clemson did against Syracuse, you can lose. You have a bad day against BC, and they get the running game going early, you can lose. You can lose. It's possible, even for the better teams in this conference.
There is no doubt, outside of what Lamar is going to do, which he always does, something special every weekend. But outside of what Lamar does, you got to watch the traditional running game, the zone read elements, where the actual tailback gets the ball and they're running it up the middle. Because what Duke broke out for a drive was succeeding, what with tempo too. We were late to one snap, quite late to one snap in particular. So to me, that's a red flag for, all right, I see why you, Ira, others are questioning. I don't know how much we're going to be able to stop Louisville as our defense plays their offense. The one thing, I would caution, the reason I do have a little bit of hope here is because of what happened last season. And even if guys are put on the field and they don't necessarily believe in the plan, they're going to play their asses off because they remember that. They were there for that high noon kick last season.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know how much want to there was in went into tackling against Duke during that drive where they were gashing us with tempo and running the football. There has to be a hell of a lot of want to here, right? Got to be.
Has to be. It says a lot about you if there isn't, right?
And by the way, this very subject coming up next on some of the headlines. By the way, let's do What's on Tap. Cue it up, good sir.
Ready for a cold one?
Yes.
Proof Brewing Company in Railroad Square Art Park presents What's on Tap. So, Jeff, what'll it be?
Man Cave Show at the 7th Hill Tap Room. Myself, Tom Lang, and a special appearance from Gene Williams. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Should be good. Should be a lot of fun.
What?
Special appearance from Gene Williams.
Oh.
Yeah, you didn't know about this?
I didn't know about this.
There's a message being sent. So I look forward to it. Should be a lot of fun. And, we'll get started in that here in a few hours from now. I forget. This is it's almost 4 o'clock. Yeah, so we got a few hours from now. But anyhow, the point would be good times. And the aforementioned thing about the if you don't try hard here and don't have a little what to you when you're tackling and all that against Louisville this weekend, then we've got much larger issues.
Yeah, they were in your huddle last year. Might want to listen, man. If we get flagged for an excessive something,
boom.
I got no problem with that.
You and I think alike, brother. If I accidentally hit you a little bit out of bounds, sometimes my momentum gets the best of me and I cannot hold up. and maybe my helmet hit the bottom of your chin by accident because, sometimes accidents happen and messages are sent in those moments.
Tell you what, last year's Week 3 performance was an accident, an absolute tragedy of an accident. If there is such a thing in sports, that's what that was. So remember it and use it, and if we get a little extra, hey, man, I'm not going to blame those guys.
You get a little extra. Also, after the Man Cave show tonight, I would imagine I'm going to watch some baseball.
Yeah, and the Lightning play again.
Don't they play New Jersey tonight?
They played who's also 4-1.
Yeah.
Apparently, all we do is play teams that are really good.
Well, we're 5-1.
That's true.
Just let's not mistake the record here. We're 5-1 after last night's 3-2. Get you some Detroit. All right, so our thanks to Proof Brewing Company for sponsoring What's on Tap. They're awesome. Proof Brewing Company since 2007, offering Tallahassee's finest craft beer selections at a massive tap room there on Railroad Square Park. Love that area of the city. I like that it's weird over there, and I mean that in the best possible way because weird is always good, different is always good, diverse is always good, and they have canned deliciousness in stores near you. Woo!
Award-winning canned deliciousness.
I saw Proof over in Pensacola.
Did you really?
Yeah, cans of Proof everywhere in Pensacola. I duly noted.
All right.
I happened to walk into a liquor store in Pensacola, Tom. I know you find that shocking.
I do find that shocking.
I did. I walked into one, and I went, oh, that looks like a good one. I'll go in there.
I don't know that that's the safest town to be walking into a liquor store. But
where I was on the water, Tom, I think we were all right. We were okay.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah, no, we weren't downtown there. Hey, but we did. We went to the Naval Air Museum there, too, and that was fantastic for the kids. Good times. I sound like I'm a walking billboard for Pensacola.com. Yeah, no, it was a good time. Good time. We talked about it. We texted about it. There's a good and the bad.
So did you go to the dock? Did you actually end up going to that bar?
Yeah, we went to every bar that was around there. There was Flounders and all that stuff. So we went to all. Yeah,
you enjoyed it?
I didn't realize how when you go out in the back, it's just wide open.
Oh yeah,
it's awesome.
Yes,
yes. I had a good time.
That's why I recommended that place.
Well, and there are 4 places that are very similar. Not to take anything away from them, there are 4 places that are very much like that, where the kids could run around while you sit down. That's good times. Good times. All right, so everybody got to hear about my trip to Pensacola. Seminole Headlines is up next. It's a good one. Stay tuned for that. Good work, Tom. Good work, Matthew. Guys, talk to you tomorrow. Be well.